Good afternoon, United Capital Management and Redneck Yacht Fund. That's the name of our hedge fund, Patricia. It's called the Redneck Yacht Fund. Did I ever tell you that? I explained the name of it. Okay. So I'm with Patricia Asp, and I have the great fortune of being able to interview her today. And I want to explain to our listeners how we met. And we met on an airplane ride from Nashville to Kansas City is how we met. But I've had a lot of I've never rode by somebody on an airplane where, well, I'm going to put it this way. Baxter Black once said it's easy for people in rural America to believe in God because they see His miracles every day. And I don't know if he's the same guy that said. I think he also said instead of looking for miracles, you look at everything as a miracle. And so when I sit by somebody anywhere and get in touch with another human, I think about that. How can I bless somebody else? But you and C.S. Lewis, or what you read with C.S. Lewis, you put it in a more clever way. If you want to share what your response was in regards to quoting his book, take it away.
Well, he wrote in The Weight of Glory that next to the Blessed Sacrament itself, you'll never be in the presence of anything more holy than another human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is powerful. So every human we come in touch with, there's nothing more holy, but not all of them do I want to do a podcast with. So thank you for being here for sure. Can you start and just share what is your background? Because your success is amazing, and obviously some kids need to understand it doesn't happen overnight. So where'd you come from and how'd you get here?
Well, I was raised on a dairy farm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. My dad was an equal opportunity kind of guy before it was a law. I'm the youngest of three, and we learned very early on what it was like to be part of a team.
Okay.
Work ethic, accountability, responsibility, obviously, our faith foundation, family.
So when you say equal opportunity, are you being a little bit of sarcasm there, and you can go
No,
milk?
I'm saying that we all pitched in. There was no division of labor between my older brother and his two sisters, We all were there. And besides the dairy farm, my dad was one of the founding members of a cooperative. So we raised green beans, wax beans, cabbage, and that as if we didn't have enough to do.
Right.
And so that kind of set the foundation. And not only the foundation for work, but the foundation of how we treated people and the foundation for generosity. It didn't make any difference who the people were, but they were going to be the one to the one. Whether it was a hobo going through the lower 40 on a train that just happened to jump off on our property, or a neighbor in need. They were very much stand-up kind of people in terms of being willing to help others. And so it's really not any surprise that I would end up going into the service industry, right? Mm-hmm. Because so much of my parents, what they did, how they treated people, the hospitality in our home, really set the foundation. And so education was very important. And so went to college. Actually, my first degree was in dietetics, and did my internship at St. Mary's and Mayo Clinic in Rochester.
Okay, real quick. So when you left the farm after graduating high school,
Right.
Okay, you went to college. Where'd you go to college at?
Well, I went to Northern Michigan University, got my first degree in
Okay.
food technology, and then
Okay.
Michigan State University. I got my bachelor's in dietetics.
Right.
Then, in order to become registered, I need to do a dietetic internship, and that was at Mayo Clinic in St. Mary's in Rochester. But
Gotcha.
I was told as I left, there, the CEO of St. Mary's said, Pat, you're probably going to be bored if you stay pure clinical because you're going to be doing the same thing. We highly recommend that you always have a management and leadership component of what you do. It adds variety, interest. And I never worked purely in clinical. Straight out of the internship, I, number one, worked in management, but then a group approached me about setting up my own consulting firm for a
Did
group.
you go back to the family farm in
No,
between
no.
years? You stayed
In
right in
between my
college and
junior
worked?
and senior year, I got married. And
Okay.
so I actually finished up my senior year. I was married. So I lived in lower Michigan. There's upper Michigan,
Yeah.
lower Michigan. Lived there and worked there. Actually joined a contract management company.
Okay.
And that contract management,
I've got to stop you. Do not forget where you're at. Okay. But I don't want to, I guess, elementary this down. Remember, you're talking to a man here, and I'm also an avid sports fan because basketball was invented in Kansas.
well,
So were you at Michigan State same time as Magic Johnson?
not Magic Johnson, but Tom Izzo, the
Okay.
basketball coach. He's
Yeah.
from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He grew up 10 miles from where I was
Okay.
raised. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the best coaches in college basketball behind several Kansas coaches.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. But from everything I understand, he's the real deal.
Yeah, no, he is the real deal. So I think I got it right. Yeah, Michigan State was Magic and Larry Bird. And
Yeah.
yeah. It was Indiana State, right? Okay. So so back to you were
So then
remember.
I joined a contract management company, and
Mhm.
that management company was acquired by a Fortune 500 global service organization that really wasn't involved in nutrition services, management services, in that area, in the food service area,
Okay.
and spent 25 years with the organization. Our four objectives were to honor God in all we do, help people develop, pursue excellence, and grow profitably.
Gotcha.
And so was a manager, area manager, division manager, vice president of operations, sales, company president, promoted into corporate, where ultimately I led people services, strategic planning, and then Six Sigma into our 14 operating companies globally.
Okay. Then were you recruited away from that company
No,
or
I
did you run
retired. I
retired?
retired, which I found out very soon that I was too young.
Hmm.
And my husband said he only had one thing to ask of me was don't make me your next project.
Hmm.
So I went back. I was recruited to go to do a turnaround in Nashville. We
Okay.
moved from Chicago to Nashville,
Gotcha.
and actually ended up doing two more turnarounds after that.
Okay. So you leave the big company, which we won't name, and you do three turnarounds total. Okay. And and they were sizable and important
Well, they're
and
private equity. They're private
right,
equity owned,
right, right.
and I think in two of the cases suffering from investor fatigue.
Hmm.
And so it was time to really rethink and if it was strategic and performance. It was really both. The initial were wonderful opportunities, great people, highly successful before the sale, and came back to that. Then after the third one,
Mm-hmm.
I made the determination that I really wanted to take full time, just really helping executives and helping companies first preserve the goodness of their company and also be able to do strategy using by the numbers. And so those two things kind of drove the chapter that I'm in right now.
Okay, and on the plane, you talked extensively to me about preserving culture, and just run into detail there. And but again, a recap after the 25 years of doing everything, the three turnarounds, and then definitely the organizations and companies having an appetite for your services. Go into some of your details
Okay.
in what you've done for some companies, and obviously the one of these days we might become your customer or client, but
Well,
let's talk about that.
well, basically on the culture end, it's taking the service profit chain that was developed by Jim Heskett and Len Schlesinger and at Harvard, and the principles of that with the principles of Six Sigma,
Okay.
and using that framework to work in the company. I think what we see is that most companies have a mission and a vision, they have values. But when you get to the values, many times there's not an operational definition. We think like everybody knows what integrity means,
Mm-hmm.
but if you ask people what the operational definition of integrity was, your employees, you would probably get as many definitions
Mm-hmm.
as number of employees. And so it's important for an organization, for profit, not for profit, to define what that value means with the definition in their organization so that you have alignment in terms of the meaning. And then, but you can't measure that. You can't measure it. And so the next step is really just to take the value and say, what behaviors do we expect to see when this value is being practiced here? Because you can measure a behavior. You can observe it, you can hear it, you can see it. And once you have that, that can be hardwired into your business model and into position descriptions, into performance reviews, orientation, training, promotional criteria, compensation schemes. It's really not difficult. It's really not difficult, but it's being intentional and defining what we expect. And behaviors bring you above all the labels.
The world tends to want to make morals values. From where I was raised, I'm very immoral because I don't have a beard. My wife doesn't have her head covered, and we have a television in our home. Okay? So my morals of my grandmother are drastically different. And then you get into all of this AI and robotics and cell phones and technology, and uh, you know, there's no good movies, but hey, this one's G, this one's R. Where do you draw the line in morals? But what never changes is ethics and how you treat other people. Morals are important, okay, and we want our employees to have behaviors inside and outside the organization that reflects our culture. Have you ever gone into an organization and uh, do you usually glue everything together? Or when you walk into an organization, have you seen it implode because not everybody's on the same page?
What I've seen, and if you just look overall, usually what happens is everybody's got it in writing, you know, and but the concern is that not everybody's on the same page. And unless you have the definitions and the expectations clearly stated, it's impossible to get everybody on the same page. And so cultures become at risk. Good cultures, when you have rapid growth, when you have mergers and acquisitions, and when you have succession. And those are the three risk factors that, all of a sudden, if you're growing rapidly, maybe I'm the founder. See, I used to be able to interview everybody, and now I can't. Now that's being delegated, and I'm seeing a dilution. I see dilution of our values. And so there's different, if you will, flags that people would say like, hey, how do we do this? And what I'm trying to do right now is, rather than me go in, is to show people how to do it. So I do public speaking and say, hey, this is not difficult. Even though we're using a lot of science and methodology behind it, all it takes is the leader being extremely intentional to bring the team through a process.
Okay, so obviously, I'm just going to sit up this way. I know I could bring you into our organization to speak for an hour or two, okay? But are you still in the business of spending days and time in building out a structure?
It's the same way with strategic planning. I think what happens is giving a framework that you can use data and understand and codify how you'll make decisions on selecting the strategy, the initiatives to go forward, and not to get, so many people do SWOT analysis, but I give the client a triple T SWOT analysis. It's not enough just to look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You need to add the other two T's, the trends and the timing. Because what you want to do is match your strengths, opportunities, and trends and ride the wave, right? You don't want to build something on your weaknesses, right, which seems pretty obvious, but it's amazing, where you begin to look at your organization with it divided by strengths, opportunities, trends, and timings next to weaknesses and threats. And I think that, and then being able to, after you go through, all the steps, that when you get to the end and you have to determine priorities of strategy, you have a methodology to weight the ideas based on criteria that you developed. I don't develop it. The company develops what criteria they're going to use. Is it revenue? Is it margins? Is it using existing core competencies or existing programs? What is it that they're going to weight? And you take those weightings against the initiatives.
How do you coach or determine a culture fit in the organization?
And I only had one question. How do you tell right from wrong? And to give me, I need to understand we're a distributed model all over, world. And how are you going to make decisions when you're out there with employees and with customers on behalf of our investors? And to really understand how people make decisions.
Patricia, thank you for your time today.